Hello all, welcome to the IDT 100% English batch. So I think I'm audible to you. Welcome to the IDT 100% English batch. I think I'm audible. So I'm not gonna waste much time. So we'll be entering into the concept, but just in the 5-10 minutes, I'll tell how the syllabus we are going to progress. So how the classes are going to be taken usually. So that I'll explain to you. So then we'll go into the topics without wasting much time actually. Okay. Sir, the source of materials. So coming to the material sources, we'll be having a concept book. This concept book will be given in the color coded form. This concept book will be given in the color format. So this is one source. Okay, so this consists of the color material for all the chapters. This is one source of material, which is the concept book. Then we'll be having the workbook as well. So workbook consists of, sir, from each and every chapter. Each and every chapter we are having illustrations. So from every chapter we're going to solve the illustration. So we'll be having here illustrations as well. Okay, so this hard copy will also be provided to you in black and white format. This is also a printed material, but the color, it's not a color coded one, it would be in a black and white one. Then we'll be writing handwritten notes as well. See, for you to understand, so this is the handwritten notes of my previous batch, which I was taken in English and Telugu mix. So I have completed this batch on 31st January only. So like this, we'll be writing the handwritten notes for at least for 70 to 75 marks related content. We'll be writing handwritten notes. So understand why we are writing handwritten notes is to ensure that you'll have that adequate time for you to understand the concepts instead of me rushing in the concepts or just underlying in the material. When you write the notes along with me, since you will be writing, your focus will not deviate and you will be constantly be along with me only, and even somewhat will simplify when we are writing in our notes, no. So then ultimately in your preparation time it would be definitely going to be easy for you to revise quickly, and on the day before exams also it's going to be easy for us. So I will definitely suggest you to write the handwritten notes for whatever the chapters I write along with me. So like this we'll be having a handwritten notes as well. Okay, that we are going to start. Then coming to the IDT, sir. So at CMA final in IDT, it's paper number 19, which is in group 4. So as you all know, comparatively the group 4 is easy to clear than that of group 3. Okay, that's not me claiming, it's a well known fact for everyone across the CMA community that clearing group 4 is somewhat easy. In group 4, paper 19 IDT is one of the course, is one of the subject. So IDT, sir, the problem with IDT is it's easy to understand, but many students if they are failing group 4 na, majority times they are not getting that 40 marks in IDT, they are getting only some 36, 35, like that they are ending in IDT, they are ending up in IDT with that marks, and they are failing in the exams. So that's why considering all those things only I'm writing the handwritten notes. If you write the notes, you'll not only understand the concept and even you'll be writing now, so that would help you in understanding and even reading the concepts better. So that way the handwritten notes is going to help you. So group 4. So in IDT, sir, again we are having two parts here. What are those two parts, sir? The first part is about regarding the GST. And the second part is regarding the customs. First part is regarding the GST and the second part is regarding the customs. So GST, goods and service tax, is for a weightage of 70% and customs is for a weightage of 30%. And again in customs, it's not just customs. Customs will have another part as well, which is called FTP. So it is customs and FTP. It is not just customs, it is customs and FTP. So you should understand here, FTP is a concept which is not so easy. But remember, FTP alone we are getting 16 marks to 23 marks in exam. FTP alone we are getting 16 to 23 marks in exam. So because of this reason only, what I am doing is now, previously I'm not used to write notes for FTP. I used to write notes for GST alone, and customs and FTP together will be discussing in the material. But considering the importance of FTP, I even started writing the handwritten notes even for FTP. I'll show you the FTP handwritten notes also. In the previous batch also I've written, so you could see. So this is, so we have got some 23 to 25 pages for the FTP as well. So we'll write like this in simplified way the notes for FTP as well. By writing the notes for FTP, the problems are, okay, you don't have anything or any clue regarding FTP or what is FTP, because in inter level it's nowhere connected, this FTP. Okay, so this part related, the concepts wise it is easy only, sir. I can and make you understand easily, but the wordings in those sentences are little tricky and you cannot write answer properly in the exam. So I want to spend more time. Okay, sir, actually FTP we could finish off in 4 hours also if we don't write notes. But since it's having so much of weightage, I want to spend more time here as well. Okay, 16 to 23 marks. So we have that potential there to spend at least 10 hours or 8 to 10 hours or 12 hours in FTP. So that's where I'll be writing handwritten notes for FTP for every concept. So you'll be having that crystal clear clarity regarding FTP also. Okay, so like this our syllabus will be continuing, sir. For every chapter, towards the end of the chapter, we'll be discussing the problems from the workbook as well. Okay, so in between also I'll be giving examples to understand you the concept and all. But once we finish off the chapter, again we'll solve each and every illustration from the workbook, so that you will be having that conceptual clarity and even how it has to be applied in the workbook as well. Okay, so I'm not talking much regarding the importance of these chapters, ABC analysis and all, because since it's a first class, you are not, you may not be having the whole knowledge of all those chapters and all. So in some other classes, I'll be giving you that ABC analysis also and all. Sir, coming to our class duration, sir, on an average it will take 120 hours for us to complete the syllabus, sir. Okay, some considering the batch to batch, some batch may have some additional 5 6 hours, or some batches may be completed some 5 6 hours, so plus or minus 5 hours. So 120 hours is our usual batch duration. Okay, so you don't need to worry about it. I'll cover everything whatever is relevant for the exams. Okay, and I would recommend you to have a notebook, sir, because writing notes only help you, because for the chapters whichever I'm writing the handwritten notes, if you don't write notes along with me, you feel like, so maybe I'm going little slow. Okay, when you write notes along with me, because you need to write fastly along with me, you feel the pace or the speed. But if you don't write notes and just listening to whatever I say, the class seems little slow for you, and ultimately you will get diverted into other things. So my sincere suggestion is like, have a notebook, and notebook na, buy some good quality notebook. Okay, since you are already invested so much on buying my classes, it's worthy to invest another 100 rupees on buying a good notebook. And possibly because I feel like my writing is not quite good and attractive, so that's why I use multiple colors or these highlighter things, so like somehow the page looks colorful and all. uh, Afterwards if I come and revise now, so at least those, even though my writing doesn't look proper, those colors or that highlighters may feels me attractive. So I would suggest to use multicolor pens and all, to have that good positive vibe whenever you open the notes and all. That is one my suggestion. It's absolutely fine even if you write only with single black color or blue color pen, it's also completely fine, because anyhow you are sitting and watching these classes virtually, so I cannot come and see your notes unless you put the scan copy or the photo of that in the WhatsApp group or in the group which we have created for you. Okay, sir, other than this, I want to mention here for 3 chapters, sir, because after the workbook got printed, I have noticed that for 3 chapters, one is value of supply, and next in supply chapter, and in customs valuation chapter, in institute book there are certain additional questions. Those questions I thought previously when we are preparing the books, maybe it's not such relevant, but then we thought, but then in one attempt those questions are asked, so I have started discussing those questions as well. Those questions alone will be sharing you the PDF copies for you, and even for the MCQs also will be sharing the PDFs with you, that you need to take the printout separately. So MCQs anyhow it takes little time for us to go through the MCQs and all. So initially by supply chapter, that also by 8th or 9th class will reach that point. I'll be sharing you the PDFs with you. So those PDFs, so hardly sir, the total they'll come for some 20 pages. Take those printouts also for supply chapter, value of supply, and customs valuation chapter. There are some additional questions which are also had to be discussed in this I mean in this batch itself, in the classroom itself. So that alone you have to consider that. Okay, so now I'm going into the subject, sir. So be ready with your weapons, book, pen, calculator, whatever you have. I'm ready already. I'm having a calculator, I'm having my pen and tab. Okay, so we're ready to rock. So first we are starting with indirect tax mechanism. So first, so don't feel like, sir, this and all we know because we already cleared CMA inter. Yes, Baba, you have cleared. Yes, you have cleared the CMA inter and all. But let me explain you that you don't remember everything. Okay, so I think like you don't remember anything. If you remember, then fine. Be little patient because majority of students will forget whatever they have studied in inter level. So that's why some places I go little basic also. So please forgive me for that. Indirect tax mechanism. Indirect tax mechanism. So in indirect tax mechanism, what happens? There will be a supplier who we call usually as a seller as well. There is a supplier, and there is even a recipient who we can call him as buyer as well. This supplier supplies or sells goods or service. This supplier supplies goods or service to this recipient, and for this recipient will be paying a consideration. He pays consideration. Okay. So let us take the consideration is 1 lakh rupee. The consideration is 1 lakh rupee. On this, the indirect taxes will take at 18 percentage, which comes to 18,000. Sir, I am not referring here GST, understand, because it's too early to talk regard to use the word GST. We are just focusing on indirect tax mechanism alone. Indirect tax mechanism alone. 1 lakh, on that there is an indirect tax assumed at 18 percentage, which is 18,000. So total we are getting 1 lakh 18,000, which has to be paid by recipient to the supplier. So now out of this 1 lakh 18,000, we know that 18,000 is tax which will go to government. So from this 1 lakh 18,000, whichever is received by supplier, 18,000 rupees tax he will be paying this to government. This 18,000 rupees tax he will be paying to whom? Government. So now we are going to write down entry from the seller perspective as well. Okay. So now understand here the obligation to pay tax in this transaction, if recipient only paid 1 lakh rupees and supplier didn't pay tax to the government, one situation, or second situation, recipient paid total 1 lakh 18,000 but supplier didn't paid 18,000 rupees tax to government. So that means if ultimately government didn't receive revenue or tax amount in this transaction, who will be made responsible for such default? Obviously it is what? Supplier only. So since supplier is responsible, the obligation to pay tax is on supplier. So it's clear, the obligation to pay tax is on whom? Supplier. Obligation to pay tax is on supplier. But yes, supplier only responsible to pay tax. But does this supplier paying from his own pocket? No, right? He is collecting from whom? Recipient. In any case, the supplier will collect the tax from recipient and only will pay the tax amount to the government. So the burden, ultimately, the burden is on recipient because it is coming from recipient side, it's not from the pocket of supplier. So the burden is on burden to pay tax is on whom? Recipient. So the obligation to pay tax is on supplier, but the burden to pay tax is on whom? Recipient. Okay. So now we'll have a quick entry regarding this in supplier books, seller books. In seller books we'll be writing an entry. Sir, what is the usual sale entry, sir? On sale you'll be getting cash or a bank amount, you are getting the amount in cash na, so cash account debit to sales, because sales will going to credit. Okay, let me first write down that entry only. Cash account debit to sales, to sales. So how much cash this supplier is receiving? 1,18,000 na, so write down it as 1,18,000 to sales. Sir, did he has to consider the total 1,18,000 as sales? No, right? Why? Because out of this 1,18,000, 18,000 is not his money. It is the tax amount which has to be given or paid to government. So he cannot recognize it as sale. So to sales, it is only how much, sir? To sales, it is only 1 lakh, and the other 18,000 will be taking it as what? To indirect taxes payable. To indirect taxes payable, it is another 18,000. So this is very important, sir. This entry I will link it with aggregate turnover definition as well. I will link this in the following chapters with aggregate turnover as well, because these are basics only, sir. With basics only we'll do mistakes. Okay, so in aggregate turnover definition, in the latter part he'll say like, don't include the tax amount collected in the turnover value. So why we don't need to include that? Because this is the basic logic. When we write a basic sale entry, we'll never include the tax amount into sales unless, so in a exceptional case he'll not include. So not even in exceptional case also he'll not include tax into his sale amount, but he'll clearly tells that. So again, you need not to by heart this. This is a basic point. Whenever there is a sale transaction, the seller will not recognize tax as his sale value. The sale will be, the tax value will be separately recognized as tax payable. Okay, I hope you're having the clarity. You're understanding my point, sir. So this is the entry in seller books. Now let us understand. Before going further, we need to understand something called federal structure. Federal structure. We need to understand what federal structure. So what is this federal structure, sir? There will be central government, there will be central government, state government, and local authorities. I mean, in governments we could classify, there are three types of governments we could see usually. One is local authority, the municipal corporations, the city related corporations, villages related panchayats, municipalities. So those are the local authorities. Municipal corporations, greater corporations, city corporations, and local authorities are called the local authorities. Then state government. So each state has a state government, and then there is a central government. So these three different layers of government, you need to understand this. These are not having a hierarchy. It's not something like central government is the higher one, then state government is subordinate to central government, and then local authorities are subordinate to state government. It's nowhere functioning, or it's nowhere given like that. All these three are independent. So to have such independence, when can we call something as independent, sir? Understand, you being an individual, when can you say you are as an independent? So to call generally a person as independent, first thing, he should have his own source of revenue. He shouldn't be dependent on his father or mother or someone else. He should have such his own income generating capacity. Then is one thing. Second one, even though there is income for him, he should be in a position to take his decision on his own. So he should have such mind capacity to take such decision. So when these two are there, then he is called as independent. So here, central government, state government, local authority, they are not subordinates to one another. All these three are independent. All these three are what? Independent. Central government, state government, and local authority. Okay, so they are not one dependent on each other. Central government, state government, local authority. These three can function. These three can function and generate. These three can function and generate revenues independently. These three can function and generate revenues independently. So they are not dependent on one another. They could generate their revenues on their own independently. This is the federal structure related. Okay. So now, sir, you may think like, why suddenly I have introduced this federal structure and then again I am jumping to something else. Sir, whatever the point I discuss in this first chapter, everything will have a connectivity at some point of stage. Okay, so don't think like why he is discussing one topic and again he is jumping into another topic without any connections he is moving. So don't think like that. By the second class or third class, you will get connected to all these dots whichever I plot now. Taxes. So now we are going to discuss the taxes that were there prior to GST. Taxes that were there prior to GST. Name of tax, levied by, and the reason why they are going to be levied. So we'll be understanding the name of tax, levied by whom, and even the reason. So these were the taxes which were there prior to GST. Only we have such clarity regarding those taxes which were there prior to GST. Then we'll understand the essence why GST has been introduced, what the mechanism, how the previous taxes used to work. You'll understand everything. Okay, I'll give such a clarity here. The first one is central sales tax. Central sales tax. This central sales tax is levied by central government. When it is levied on intrastate, it is levied on intrastate supply. The central sales tax is levied by central government on intrastate supply. Sir, understand, on sale, before GST also, on sale of goods. Okay, so reason here, interstate sale of goods, not supply also. Intrastate, sorry. Reason, it is interstate sale of goods. Central sales tax levied by central government, reason is interstate sale of goods. Okay, so understand, before GST also, the exclusive right to levy tax on sale of goods is with the state government. The exclusive right to levy tax on sale of goods is with the state government. But here, if you could see, on sale of goods, central government is levying. Why on interstate? Sir, I think you know this basic definition. Interstate means I don't require the standard section 7 IGST Act ka definition of interstate supply. But I am ensuring, I'm assuming that you know this basic definition. Like Interstate means the seller and buyer are in two different states. Intrastate means the seller and buyer are in the same state. If that part my work, I could explain now. Okay. So even if you forget also, then remember this. If when it is interstate, sir, it's a basic layman thing I am explaining. It's not the real definition that we'll understand once we go deeper into the topics. For now, seller, buyer, same state, intrastate. Seller, buyer, two different states, interstate. So central sales tax levied by central government. The reason is what? Interstate sale of goods. On sale, the exclusive right on sale of goods, the exclusive right to levy taxes with whom? Central government, state government only. But here the tax is levied by central government. Why? Why? Because now understand. Let's say, for example, sir, you need not write this example. I'll erase this. AP, Tamil Nadu, two states are there. So there is a sale by a seller who is in AP, and it's purchased by a buyer in Tamil Nadu. Now 1 lakh is the sale. On this, sales tax has to be levied. Since both of them are in two different states, on this the sales tax related, collection related, both states will have a problem or fight. Like what? AP says like the tax revenue has to come to AP. Tamil Nadu says like the tax revenue has to come to Tamil Nadu. So there is a fight between them. So AP says like seller is only important. Tamil Nadu says like buyer is only important. So both these states will have a fight regarding who has to take the tax revenue. So that's why to reduce those conflicts between the states, central government is involved, and on interstate the central government is levying the taxes. Sir, what is this, sir? If there is a problem between these two states, somehow it has to be resolved, and to one state it has to be given. Center has came as if it is going to solve the problem, and it is taking the taxes. How it is justifiable, sir? How it's a fair treatment? Center will not retain those taxes. It's levied by central, but the sale of goods related tax has to be go to states only. So central will levy taxes and will again transfer back that revenue to the state government only. To which state? The state where the goods has origin. Where the seller is located is the origin. To such state the revenue will be given back by will be transferred by the central. Okay. So write down here CST, central sales tax ka shortcut, sir, that is CST collected will be transferred by CST collected will be transferred by central government to selling state. CST collected will be transferred by central government to selling state. Next, second one. Countervailing duty. Countervailing duty. This countervailing duty is levied by central government. Countervailing duty na CVD, the shortcut, sir. Countervailing duty, central government. Sir, this countervailing duty is levied on import of goods. Sir, in import of goods there is custom duty na. If you remember, if your basics are somewhat correct in interlevel, on import there is customs duty, which is BCD. But there is something called countervailing duty also. Why countervailing duty is levied na? I'll explain much more detailedly even in customs. Don't much bother about it. When we import goods, we levy BCD. The reason for levying BCD is to allow the goods from other countries to come into India. The other country related manufactured goods, to allow them into India, we are levying BCD, basic customs duty. But before GST, if a good is manufactured in India, let's say a calculator or a mouse, something is manufactured in India, because of such manufacture, there is a tax called excise duty prior to GST. There is a tax called what? Excise duty. But if you import from some other country, you are only levying customs duty. But the reason for levying BCD is just is that good coming from outside India. But you are not taxing the reason of manufacture, na. So if on a good, if you see the excise duty, I mean excise duty is levied because those goods are manufactured in India. The excise duty rate is 20%, sir. The same good, if manufactured in India, the excise duty rate is 20%. But if the same good imported from other country, if there is only BCD, the BCD rate is, let's say, 14%. So if good is coming from other country, you are levying BCD of only 14%. But if it is manufactured in India, you are levying 20% of excise duty. So there is no balanced treatment between the other country goods and the local manufactured goods. If at all there is a possibility, you should benefit or you should give some kind of benefit to the locally or domestically produced goods, not to the imported goods. So if there is no excise duty on the imported goods, then it would benefit the imports only rather than the goods which were domestically manufactured. So that's why on imported goods, it's not just the BCD. We will levy a tax equivalent of excise duty which is leviable on the locally manufactured goods. On this mouse, if in India, if it is manufactured domestically, the excise duty rate is 12%. Even if it is imported, there will be 12% additional tax other than BCD, which we call it as countervailing duty. Which we call it as what? Countervailing duty levied by central government on what? On import, which is equivalent to excise duty, which is equivalent to excise duty. Then there is advertisement tax. This advertisement tax is levied by state government on advertisements. I mean, when these hoardings are kept or any advertisements are being made, then on them this advertisement tax used to be